Guys, did the awesome here to give you my review and thoughts on the latest box. Is it Curse of the Dread? This is the latest box in the game, like I just said. Like I just said, literally just said. Yeah, this is the box. Anywho, this box has got a lot of ritual monsters. If you like ritual monsters and you like zombie monsters in particular, you'll love this box because this box has a lot of good utility cards for the ritual monsters, ritual monster archetype in this box. So it's just really the best ritual monsters in the game. As far as I know, right now this is the best one because it's able to recycle like crazy. The power of recycling in this ritual deck is amazing. Like the cards that you will find in this box, amazing for ritual summons because it's just great. Because all the support cards that relate to being able to ritual summon just it cancels out the other effects of the, let's say you use origins here. Let's say you use Reverend Origin, which requires you to banish zombie monsters from your graveyard and or, tribute. It also acts like a normal ritual spell in the sense you can just tribute monsters in your hand or on the field. This special ritual spell card lets you banish from the graveyard as a third alternative instead of just tributing stuff from your hand or the field, which is all really great for ritual summoning in general, because when you have to either fusion or ritual summon a monster, you do have to give up more cards in your hand. With this, it has a third alternative where you can just send zombies to banish it on, and you can easily mill the zombies. There's a lot of cards. In fact, its own archetype even mills zombies, so it's you just get everything for free. It's amazing. And when you use this card in particular, you can use this trap card, reveal one, it's called Venrdead Reunion, reveal one Venrdead ritual monster in your hand, special summon any number of your banished Venrdead monsters with different names in face-down defense position, whose total levels exactly equal the level of the revealed ritual monster, tribute all those monsters, and then ritual summon the monster. And then you just get the monster. It's basically a trap ritual spell card. It's really amazing when you combined it with this spell card. And I'm going to highly suggest, as soon as you get this spell card, this monster card, this ritual monster, the ultra ritual monster, which is a huge recycler, it's able to when it's sent to the graveyard, you can add a ritual spell, and then send one of your Venrdead monsters from your deck to the graveyard, allowing you to utilize Origin more. Again, this is the best ritual spell card of the deck, because it's universally anything. You can just send anything. It's amazing, and you can just keep recycling. Once you get this, and this. Once you get these three cards, Venrdead Reverence, while it's in the possession, you can special summon this card. When it's destroyed by either a card or battle, you can special summon it. And then whenever you use this in a ritual summoning, this is for all the Venrdead normal monsters or the effect monsters, like none of the boss ritual monsters. If you use any of these, Venrdead cards, the normal ones, they get an additional effect for that ritual monster. The ritual monster, for this in particular one, you can target one of the special monsters your opponent controls, and then you can banish it. Meaning you can really just banish Blue Eyes, you can banish Red Eyes, you can banish Neos. This thing pub stomps Neos, it pub stomps, Blue Eyes. You just get rid of really annoying things for free. Like special summoning is a very universal thing in this game. Especially in nowadays meta, everyone's just kind of special summoning their samurais, they're special summoning their Blue Eyes, Neos. Like if you ritual summon, a Venrdead, if they're already done doing all of their, the summoning and stuff, you can ritual summon your Venrdead, use this as it, and then you get into the effect, banish whatever big thing you have to deal with, and then based on which one you are currently using, you can use the skill Beatdown to increase your attack, and if there's more than one Blue Eyes, obviously you'll have enough attack at that point, especially if you use like the field spell There's a field spell for bones that gives, you know, zombies another 200 attack, plus this thing gets 300. Or you could use beatdown with another card, and you can just overlap whatever you haven't killed yet. It's really, really nice. And banishing is going to be huge in this game. Banishing is so huge, because everything is recycling or using the graveyard as a resource. So this is a must-have. You need, once you get these 3 cards, just reset the deck. But what about all the other cards in the deck? Why don't I just get everything, literally everything? Well, beyond the Venrdead cards, besides these amazing recycling monsters, you have the other options, and I gotta say, the other options may not be ideal, depending on what kind of player you are. The second, there are 3 kinds of monsters in this, you know, the archetypes. There's rituals, there are sychro zombies, and there are fable monsters. And we'll talk about sychro zombies first, and I think they're not the best ones right now, just simply because there's no zombie. We only get 1 copy of Zombie World. Now, sychro zombies are in in this box here. You can get like Red Eye Zombie, Necro Dragon. You can get the, you know, the Doom Kaiser, and then you can get Revived King Hades, and then you get Archfiend Zombie Skull. All these zombie sychro monsters are here, but they all kind of rely on Zombie World, because what Zombie World does, it makes everything on the field and in the graveyard zombie monsters. It makes all of them zombie cards, and all of these effects rely on the enemy having a zombie monster, you know, in their thing. So it doesn't really help. I'd say Zombie Dragon is the best one, because it doesn't really require like Zombie World. I'd say it's the only one that doesn't require it, in the sense that you can even revive from your own graveyard. You don't have to revive from the enemies. So this is, as far as I'm concerned, this is the only one that can function without it. This one actually needs Zombie World. This one's alright. This one's actually the other one. Actually, this one's 2. So there's actually 2, right? Okay, that's 3. Okay, so there's actually 3. Zombie, Skull, and Hades, and Necro Dragon can live without it, but I guess this is the only one that actually needs it. So it's not completely dead, but like, come on, you want Zombie World for this, because you can literally, you can literally take anything from the guy's graveyard. It's amazing. But yeah, you need Zombie World. I think it needs Zombie World. Plague Spreader Zombie is also the ultra rare of the deck, and that's really good. It's actually fundamental for zombie ritual decks, because it's a recycler. If this card is in your graveyard, you can place 1 card from your hand on top of your deck, special summon it, but banish it when it leaves the field, which is nice. However, there is a substitute for it. This one isn't able to special summon in itself, but yeah, I mean, the benefit is it's treated as Plague Spreader Zombie, so it can literally substitute for any of the Plague Spreader Zombie cards. And then the other nice thing is it can make all other face-up zombie monsters level 2, and being the fact all the zombie monsters are like 6 stars, you can pretty much make if you ever get like 3 zombie monsters on the field, you can make that into a 6-star combo, and then you can summon any of the zombie cards. But I don't know how great that would actually be, because you might as well just summon a level, whatever the current number of monsters you have right now would probably fuse into something more relevant or better. But again, that's kind of dependent on what you have on the field currently. And I don't know if like 3 monsters are really worth the sacrifice, unless you're playing Scapegoats. Scapegoats. This is actually one of the better cards that are not a part of an archetype. I really like this card. So this actually combos really well with Beast King Barbaros, because you can tribute when you tribute this card with 3 tributes, it destroys everything on your opponent's side of the field. And that's not the only monster that has that kind of effect, where when you tribute 3 monsters, something really nice happens for you. There are quite a few cards that do that. And Scapegoat is a great way to meet those requirements for those 3-star tributes. And there are quite a few good ones. There's quite a few good 3-star tribute monsters. I think one of them was called Aquarium. Yeah, I could actually pull that up now, actually, just to show you. It's a 8-star monster, I believe. I have it in this one, right? So it's a water monster, and it's like an 8-star monster. Where is it? Yep. Okay. So it is actually, no, it's not Aquarium. It's called the Tripper Mercury. What Mercury does is when you tribute 3 monsters, if summoned this way while this card is on the field, all monsters your opponents currently control attack equal attack equal to their original attack, which means you can ult-kill people. If there are 2 monsters on the enemy side of the field when this is summoned, because it can attack twice. I think it does actually attack twice. When this card is tribute summoned, you can change all face-up monsters your opponents control into attack position. If this card is summoned this way, while this card is on the field, all monsters your opponents control loses attack equal to their original attack. This card can make a second attack during each battle phase. So yeah, I can OTK. And then this isn't like... I think this is permanent too. So like whenever someone actually summons something, it's always going to have 0 attack. That's crazy. That Scapegoat is a really nice card, especially for things like the Tripper Mercury or Beast King Barbaros. I think this, and theoretically speaking too, if you have 3 copies of this, you might just want to go with Mercury, or like you can still run, you can still get Barbaros, three copies of Barbaros, but that's probably a better thing because that has OTK potential. It can swing twice and just ult-kill from there. Really nice. Just run like Hatronade or the there's like arrows. I think it's like mythical arrows or something like that, and it prevents the opponent from playing their spell cards, and that's really nice. But yeah, in terms of the zombie cards, in terms of like the tuners, I would like more zombie worlds. So you can only get 1 copy of Zombie World. I don't think it's worth it. There's a really unique monster called Mud Dragon of the Swamp. It requires 2 monsters with the same attribute but different types. So basically, this runs the best in water decks. Like, in all honesty, this just runs naturally better in water decks. Your opponent can't target this card or monsters on the field with the same attribute with this card. Once per turn, quick effect, you can declare 1 attribute. This card becomes the attribute until the end of this turn. So it can change to any type. I don't know if you can activate this on the enemy's turn, because it says once per turn. And it doesn't say either player's turn. So I don't know if this works with either player's turn, but ideally you want to play this in terms of with a water deck, because with water decks, it usually plays aquas, serpents, or fishes. So it gets the most benefit from that. Do keep in mind, though, it does take 3 cards realistically to summon it, and then you'd have to... That third, whatever that monster you have out on the field, it'd have to be something that can make up for the fact you now have a 19 attack beater, and not like something that's naturally strong. The effect is really nice, but it's only good as long as it stays out on the field, and if this thing dies right away, it doesn't really do you any good. It did take like took 3 cards to summon it. There is actually a trap card that will let you actually summon a fusion monster from your deck for free. But the enemy can also have this card. I think that's why no one even runs the thing in their deck, because the enemy can also benefit from it. It's like the same thing with the Mausoleum. There is a spell card, a field spell, that lets you pay life points instead of tributing for monsters. I think it's kind of on the same note as that. It could pretty much allow... I don't know if that's once per turn too, but you get the card from the Paradox Brothers. It's a continuous trap card. I always wanted to test it out, but that would be an ideal way of bringing this thing out, because you basically get it for free. I think that's kind of one of the best ways to summon it. I don't think this is worth 3 cards, because when you fuse something, it does require usually 3 cards. I don't know if that's worth it. I usually don't. It depends on what you actually use, though, I guess. But usually, that is a pretty huge thing. Whenever you fusion summon or ritual summon, It does require you to use 3 cards that you don't get back. That's usually the thing. That's usually the price you pay. What usually, not all cards do this nowadays, but usually that's the price you pay. And I think this would be better if you could just instantly summon it with like a spell or trap card, because I don't, again, it's, you have to give 3 cards for it. That means you start the game off with 5 cards, right? So you're using 3, you have 2 cards left. Whatever those 2 cards is what you got. I don't know if it's worth summoning. In terms of a normal way, you can special summon it in a nice way, but again, you have to kind of use things. There's a trap card called Necro Summoning. That might be the other way, and probably the more safer way in terms of your opponent doesn't get the benefit from your card, which lets you banish cards face down, then summon one from the deck. Meaning, you can use the resources without having to use polymerization. I think that's genuinely better. It can't attack the turn that it's summoned, that's fine. This monster doesn't even have a high attack power anyway. It's more so there for the effect. That's the only reason you're bringing this out. So I think Necro Summoning is probably the more competitive, ideal way of bringing it out. But this, again, I think this is only really good in water decks. And like any deck that has mix in it. But ideally you want water because it's naturally water. That means it's on like during either player's turn. So I think that's better. I think this is great support for waters, and you're running like Necro Summoning. I think that's the only time you bring this out is with Necro Summoning. Like I think that's the best competitive way to bring it out. I want to talk about the Venrdead ritual monsters real quick. I talked about this one relatively fast. This again is your recycler. But during battle damage, you can banish a zombie monster to have this card gain 300 attack. Now, this would be a 2,700 beater if you did do this. But I think the main use for the skill is being able to use this with Escape from the Dark Dimension, which is a trap card that lets you special summon a monster from the banish zone. So let's say you ritual summon something before this monster, you can actually banish the monster that's now in your graveyard, and then pretty much bring that back with that trap card. So I think you can use it as that. And again, once this goes to the graveyard, you get a spell card, and you can send one Venrdead monster from your deck to the graveyard. Like this is from your ritual monsters to your special effects, normal, your effect monsters that aren't ritual monsters that give your, reverend ritual monsters more effects. So that's a good card. Like, obviously, you want 3 of that. Venrdead Battlelord. This is kind of like the Jinzo, except for all 3 type of cards monster. What this card does is once you ritual summon this, you can, it's not once you ritual summon, you can banish 1 Venrdead monster from your graveyard and declare 1 type of card. For the rest of this turn, your opponent can't activate cards or effects of that type. If this ritual summon card is sent to the graveyard, you can add 1 ritual summoned monster, one ritual monster from your deck to your hand, and if you do send 1 Venrdead monster from your deck to the graveyard. So basically guaranteeing you get the ritual summon again. That's all this deck does. It's guaranteeing you just being able to ritual summon. It's amazing. This is obviously your go-to. If you bring 3 of these monsters out, if you have 3 battle words, I really think you can just win the duel from there. Because you can negate spells, you can negate traps, and you can negate monsters. I think the big one would be this is going to take skill on your part. If you can determine what the enemy would be running, like either a quick play or a trap spell in the back row, you can pretty much lock the effects of your opponent's field down if you run 2 Battle Lords and you do guess both archetypes, right? And given the nature of the archetype being able to cycle out your ritual monsters and bring them out, like you can really just pick and choose which ones you want out. I think you can bring 2 of these, and that's pretty good. That's pretty game breaking. If the enemy doesn't have like their biggest beaters, that they don't have like Blue Eyes, for example, or Ancient Gears, and if you're running Beatdown, you for sure just win the matchup. But it's pretty good. It's really nice. I'd say this is what, like, beyond like the recycler, this is the other card you want on the field. This is really nice to have. Executioner, you can ritual summon this card with any Venrdead ritual spell. This goes for any of them. So it really just goes for any of them. This name becomes Reverend Slayer while it's on the field. While this ritual summoning card is on the field, your opponent can't target cards you control with card effects except this card. So basically, it's kind of like the built-in Origins, which is nice because it protects your other monsters from being destroyed by card effects. It in itself pretty much gets doubled protection from Origin. So in the sense of defensive play, this is probably your best defensive option. It's really, really nice. You can add one Venrdead monster from your deck to your hand, or like card. And this is a nice one too. You can add a Venrdead card. This means you can search out your ritual spells. And you can only use this effect once per turn. That's fine. And that's really nice. That's extremely nice. So it's also not only your most defensive card, it's also got the nicest attack. That's also a thing that it has. It can also be a searcher too. So it is a defensive, your biggest beater, and your searcher. It's also another searcher. That's amazing. You got the Hell Horde, or the Hound, Hell Horde, Venrdead Hound Horde. Once per turn, you can target one spell or trap card your opponent's control and banish it. Now, I'm actually interested in knowing if you, let's say you ritual summon 2 monsters and each of them had this as one of their material monsters. Does that mean you can use both effects? Like, because it's on a different monster. Does that mean you can allow up to 2? That's kind of what I wonder. And I think this is really nice for clearing back row, because again, you're kind of mainly prioritizing in ritual summoning. Like your deck's going to be very ritual, like summon heavy. In terms of clearing back row, I don't know if this deck is good with clearing back row unless you run this card, because it depends on whether or not the opponent has set 2 or more. Like if they set 2 or more, you still have to deal with a trap card. At that point, it's like pick and choose. And if both of them are bad, then you're just in a terrible situation. I think as long as you pick the one that doesn't destroy your monster, I think you're good, because it preserves your protection with your spell cards. After damage calculation, if this card has battled a opponent's monster, you can draw a card, then discard a card. So pretty much allowing you to quickly draw out your resources, which is pretty great. So a lot of these basic ones seem to have the ability where if this card's in your graveyard, you can discard it, one Venrdead card, and special summon it, but banish it when it leaves the field. It seems like a lot of these normal, Venrdead cards seem to have that ability, which is nice. I don't think you'd ever really need to use them, though. I don't think you need to use this effect, because again, with this spell card, you can always just get that for free. I think the main use for the first effect for all these basic Venrdead cards is being able to not have to banish them from the graveyard, because when you use Origin, like if you use them in the graveyard, you do banish them. So I think that's the main use for that. What's the third art? No, I didn't get the time to mention what the third one. There was actually a fourth one too. There's actually 3 other cards, like archetype decks, that are in this box. The third one being the Fable cards. There are quite a few. I myself am a huge fan of Fable monsters. I have always thought in terms of once the Fabled box had come out, it was missing Leviathan. Like this card is really, really nice for Fabled decks because it lets you, once it's destroyed by battle, you can get 3 Fabled monsters from your graveyard and add them to your hand, allowing you guaranteeing you another play if you do survive for your next turn, in the sense that if the opponent's turn is currently going on and they do destroy this thing, you can guarantee yourself pretty much not only a hand advantage, but you just get resources. You get your resources back, which lets you do your synchro combos. Set you up really nice. This pairs well when you have Fabled Kite Sith, because when you discard This card at the graveyard, select one face-up card on the field and destroy it. You can pretty much, if they killed it with a boss monster, bada bing, bada boom, get your Kate Sith, get like your Chua, and then discard it with Chua, and then boom, blow that up. Or your Nazuchi. Nazuchi also does the same thing. In fact, Nazuchi would be better in terms of a deck focusing around summoning Leviathan, because Nazuchi is a 2-star, and if you're running the 8-star boss monster Dayanara, you can summon this for basically free. It's basically a free summon. It's really nice. But you have to have Dayanara on the field already. I think a good way to actually bring it out would be picking up your Cerberus. If you want to pick up revive your Leviathan, what you do is you do Nazochi, Cerberus, and Dayanara. Because what you do is you summon Chua, you discard the Cerberus with Chua's effect, and then Cerberus comes on the field. You can tribute Cerberus into, or not Cerberus, you can tribute your Chua for your Dayanara, and then you can synchro summon back into a Leviathan if you want to bring Leviathan back. And depending on what your 4th card you draw, because once, like, let's say you used all your resources, let's say your hand's completely empty and they just do destroy Leviathan, on your next turn you are drawing, you pretty much have 4 cards in your hand. It's a really, really, really nice card and fundamental. The main reason why I think this is kind of like not ideal for, like, in terms of this mini box, is you need cards from another box to make the deck, really. And the two of the most important ones are ultra rare, so you do need to take time to invest in if you really want to even make a fabled deck. I myself am very interested in the deck. I'm currently working on it right now, so I'm investing in the deck. I am going to make a Leviathan video at some point showcasing just how the combo works. I used to play the deck a lot in the DS, but that's that. The 4th type that's in this deck are Venom cards. Venom cards are finally in the game. However, they're too slow. They rely on the field spell Venom Swamp, which everything loses 500 points per Venom counter, and during each player's end phase, everyone gets a Venom counter. Things aren't staying on the field long enough to really make this card useful. You basically need to run even a stalled deck, and even at that point, nothing will really die from this effect. I don't think, because it has to be destroyed by this own effect. Meaning, if a monster has 0 attack by the time this hits 0, then it dies. Realistically speaking, things are having like 3,000 attack. It doesn't seem plausible. And in order to even stay safe from this effect yourself, you have to run Venom monsters. You have to actually run a Venom deck. I don't think there's enough modern support cards for Venom to function right. I just don't think so. Because again, look at this. These are your 3 normal monsters. Once per turn, you can place a Venom counter on one monster in the field. And then this with Serpent, this is the other normal summon one. Once per turn, you can place one Venom counter. If you use this effect, it can't attack this turn. I don't know why they made it. I don't know why this thing gets punished for using its effect, but this doesn't. I don't get that. That's not something I get. And then Boa, it places 2 instead of 1, but still on a single monster. And if you use the effect, you can attack the turn. So let's say you do have the field spell out. Let's say you do have the field spell out. Basically, they lose 1,000 attack. Once you use Venom Swap into any of the Serpent monsters, they lose. Normally, if you use a basic one, they lose 1,000. If you're using the Boa, they lose like 15,000. That's nice. I will say that's really, really nice. That's good for like the boss monsters. I will say once you summon Boa into Swamp Monster, that's good. I will say that's really good, but it is a tribute monster. There are cards where you can summon them, so you can use that aspect into it. But again, it's just a really slow process. I think this is your best generator though for the deck. If you do make a Venom one, I'll make a video on it at some point, but yeah, that's the main reason why I don't think it flies too well. And that's really it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know in the comment section below if you have any questions on any card or anything like that. Real quick, there are 2 support cards in the super rares that let you special summon like really low monsters, or like universally any zombie monster. Pyramid Turtle, for example, lets you summon anything with 2,000 defense for a zombie monster. Like once it's destroyed by battle, you can special summon any zombie with 2,000 defense or less. So basically any zombie, because most zombies in the game have literally no defense. So that's really nice. This is basically free zombie summon. I like this guy. This is a nice zombie summoning card. If you're not utilizing any of the things in the box, this is a good support for literally any of the other zombies. Specifically vampires. That's nice. It's awesome. And I think Zombina also works for the vampire archetype because there are a lot of level 4 or lower zombie monsters. If this card in the owner's possession is destroyed by a card, either by battle or by card effect, you can target one level 4 or lower monster from your graveyard except Zombina and special summon it. Really nice. Really nice for zombie decks because a lot of them just seem to be going in the graveyard, and you use Zombina to pick out ones you need to succeed. I'm Did the Awesome, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video.